I now call to order the Adrian City Commission meeting, special meeting, for August 15th, 2022. If everyone would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Mayor Heath,
Present.
Commissioner Halt,
Present.
Commissioner Roberts,
Present.
Commissioner Miller,
Present.
Commissioner Strayer,
Present.
Commissioner Castleberry. Present. Commissioner Gauss.
Present.
All commission members present.
I would like to make a motion to go into closed session to discuss pending litigation.
Support. Kelly. I have a motion from Commissioner Halt with a second from Commissioner Castleberry to go into closed session for pending litigation. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Halt,
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Strayer,
Yes.
Commissioner Castleberry. Yes. Commissioner Gauss,
Yes.
Mayor Heath.
Yes.
Motion to go into closed session to discuss pending litigation is approved by an all yes vote.
We will come back out here to adjourn the meeting before beginning our work study session in the back room. May I get a motion to adjourn our special meeting?
So moved.
I have a motion from Commissioner Miller with a second from Commissioner Strayer. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned and we will now begin our work study session in the back room.
Go home. Go home. Okay. Yeah.
We will now begin our work study session for August 15th, 2022. Roll call, please. Sorry.
Mayor Heath,
Present.
Commissioner Halt,
Present.
Commissioner Roberts, President, Commissioner Miller,
Present.
Commissioner Strayer,
Present.
Commissioner Castleberry. Present. Commissioner Gauss,
Present.
all commission members present.
At this time, I will turn it over to City Administrator Greg Elliott.
Thank you, Mayor. First thing we're gonna talk about tonight again is Riverview Terrace, just to give you an update. I'll give you a relatively brief update and just be available for any questions that you might have. A lot of you already are privy to some of the information or most of the information. So I don't want to belabor that if not necessary. So as of today, well, last Friday, we relocated all the residents back to, all but one of the residents back to Lenawee County. One individual chose to stay in the hotel in Dundee. They are in mostly 3 hotels: the Adrian Inn, the Tecumseh Inn, and the Super 8. The goal is to get as many residents as possible into the Adrian Inn, which of course we're acquiring. The closing scheduled for that transaction this Friday, 3 o'clock. After that point, we'll have control of that property and be able to make the sort of deals that we want to make or can make with the residents, keep them there over the longer term. There are, for immediate purposes, 69 rooms. 47 of those are currently occupied by LEAC residents of one sort or another, either because they're from Riverview Terrace or otherwise were placed there by housing help. There are 22 other guest rooms that were nominally normal hotel guests, if you will. However, I suspect as we get around to trying to empty the hotel out, we're gonna find that that's the only place some of those people have to live. Well, there's gonna end up back in housing help looking for a place to live. So remains to be seen how that's gonna shake out in terms of filling the other 22 rooms. But regardless, it's not enough for everybody who has the need to be housed. We started out the very first week securing approximately 65 rooms. By the time we went to Dundee, that had grown to about 82 rooms, and then demand during the time, the 2 weeks that the folks were staying at Splash Universe rose to about 100 people that had reached out to the agencies seeking some sort of housing option. So many, initially stayed with family, but that was untenable for the long term. There's about, and that number may grow. Originally, there were 175 people more or less that lived in the Riverview Terrace. So we've been contacted. Group working on this has been contacted by about 100. We may hear from more as time goes on. So we don't know what the solution will be when the other hotel stays run out. Like I say, we want to get as many people as possible into the Adrian Inn because we can control that. Well, we're going to have to charge folks something to stay there because there are obviously operating costs and the process of gathering all the utility bills right now to figure out what that's going to be, but it's thousands of dollars a month, obviously, to operate that structure. There's money that's going to have to go into it to make it operable. Hot water heaters, as I think we talked about before, are pretty much shot, so probably have to be replaced during our period of ownership. We went out there today and looked at the roof of the building that houses what used to be a nightclub, also the office and related facilities up front. That roof is completely shot, leaking in multiple places. So we asked, we brought a commercial roofer with us. He's going to give us an estimate on that. So probably have to see more. Give us an idea at least what that is. My hope had been that they would go up there and say, well, we can patch it for the short term, but it's really in rough shape. I don't know what to do. And if we did do it, not be money well spent, it's immediately start with. So we have to cross that bridge. That if we can get that structure habitable, a couple things might be options there. It may be the case that when hotel stays at other places other than the Adrian Inn run out, eventually they're going to run out, and I'll speak in a moment about what the current funding level for that is. But in the matter of either days or weeks, that's going to run out. And we'll have to stand up an emergency shelter of some sort. So that building could function as that. It has restrooms in it. We set up, doesn't really have a kitchen. It has a serving area. So it could function as an emergency shelter. It could function as a community room. If not needed as an emergency shelter, or could be divided off between the two. For folks that are living there over the longer term, don't have to go eat in their motel rooms, right? It isn't ideal. Set up a dining area in that space. We would like to be able to do that. And like I say, it's going to be dependent upon fixing the roof. And it represents that the rest of the mechanicals all work in there. That seems to be the case. In terms of funding, at the time that the hotel stays that were currently made, so this was the first round of hotel stays post Dundee that had to be arranged by housing help. Prior to that time, property management had arranged for the stays using funds from the reserve for replacement for the building. Although there is a question about first week stays, which they committed, management committed to, but now is seeking reimbursement for. However, this round right now is the first round that's been arranged by Housing Help using hotel vouchers that ESHDA has extended. They had originally extended enough that would take it $40,000, which would take us out to about Wednesday of this week. They, as of just before the meeting, have indicated that they expect to have another $100,000 available. That could take us out to as much as 2 weeks from on folks, whatever those. Hopefully that gives us enough time to make arrangements that are more desirable. And as I say, the residents that were in Riverview Terrace did pay rent. Most of them paid about $600 a month rent. So at least for Adrian Inn purposes, once we close, we can charge a fee that is commensurate with what people's ability to pay. It's a typical hotel. The best rate I've seen from any of the area hotels is at about $300 a week. So that's obviously more than twice what any of the residents can afford. Still working on that that longer term solution. The Adrian Inn, well, it's gonna substantially help, it's not gonna solve all the needs. Our hope is really that as we pick off people and find them more permanent housing, then those rooms will become available for other folks that still in transition. The numbers are quite large. People. So happy to answer any questions about Riverview Terrace.
Greg, on a longer term basis, is there, do we still have a potential buyer for the property?
Well, I was gonna get to that next.
Okay.
Under the discussion about.
Okay,
Adrian
that's
Inn,
fine.
but
You can wait.
That is true.
So I know there's been a few times where Department of Aging is taking meals out, somebody else has already shown up with meals, so now they've, there's been, you know, they have to take the food back because it's like a meal ready to go. I've seen some posts, I even saw one last night where somebody was like trying to get people to take things to Tecumseh and take things and like saying where the residents were. And so we've got some, you know, people, it's great. We've got community members trying to help, but we want to make sure that it's not where they're getting everything all at once and they're not going to have food later or whatever it might be, and like duplicating those efforts. And we want to make sure that it's so it is under the knowledge of Department of Aging or MDHSS or whoever it is that, so like, where would you suggest that all of them look to, like, if there is a church or a specific service group or whatever it may be that are looking to help? Because I know a lot of them are asking and wanting to do that. And some people would just did it and figured it was fine, but which was great, but there was some duplication of efforts because of that.
Yeah, the hotline number that we've had out goes to MDHHS. Linda Needham has been coordinating all the service agency responses. And, it has been up to this point, Department of Aging has been providing the 1 meal a day, similar to Meals on Wheels. Now that everybody's moved back to the county, they're going to revert back to their normal Meals on Wheels process. Right? So if you're signed up for Meals on Wheels, you'll still get that 1 meal a day. If not, you will have to sign up for Meals on Wheels to get that meal going forward. But anybody who would like to provide a meal or provide any kind of resources, should go through the hotline. Melinda Needham at MDHHS, she's kind of the coordinator. Part of that.
Greg, with going back to the original building, I know it's in rough shape. Does the ownership of the building indicate to you that they think they're gonna fix it up?
I don't think they know. So today we reached out to the new engineer, the new engineering firm is Thornton Tomasetti out of Chicago. They've been on the job now for I guess, a week and a half. I think it was last Monday that when they went through the building, and we've anticipated a report from them last week based on their own representation. That didn't come. They indicated to Tony today that they expect to have a report by the end of this week, which will be of a general nature. They've already verbally confirmed that they agree with the first engineer's assessment. The building can't be occupied. It does not meet the requirements of building code for wind loading in its current situation. And when I spoke to that engineer last week, he also said that it will be months before any sort of reasonable repair could be effectuated. This first report will not design the repair. There's another step needed before, which I assume is hired for that further effort to actually design the repair. That's why the first engineer walked away or handed off the project to this group because it was beyond their expertise to design a repair situation. So it will be until a repair has been designed and estimated in terms of its cost that we'll know, and management will know, ownership will know whether or not it's reasonable to repair the building.
Do we have any leverage to keep them from just walking away, leaving us with a 12-story empty building?
Nope. This is a non-recourse loan guaranteed by Mishta. So what that means is that the owners only got as much into it as he's got into it in terms of equity. You can walk away from it with no recourse to him, to any of the partners personally, or to the entity on a personal basis. So it's my understanding that the project was refinanced by Mishta through Mishta in 2018. That would tell me there's probably not a whole lot of equity in the deal at this point, and I think there is risk that an economically rational actor will look at the cost of repairs and look at what they've got in the property and decide it's not.
Is there any information, like, it's only a 50-year-old building, it should not be in that kind of repair, you would think it shouldn't be separated from the wall, like, do you have any information, like, is it where it's at, is it because of the foundation of the land, I mean, why would it? I mean, because I remember one of those ELC meetings, it sways in the wind, so how could a building like that size be so unstable coming up from the wall when it's only 50 years old? I mean, my house is 110 years old.
Right.
And it's not built on the river.
Well, I mean, there's no one has indicated prospective costs for the failure, or whether there is such a failure and it causes the building not to be safe. I have not seen any, nor have I heard anyone speculate as to what the cost is. I know that was, the way that building was built 50 years ago is not the way you would build a building of that type today. I don't know the nature of the design. I just don't know.
Do we know if everyone, I know I had asked you when some residents reached out to me. Do we know now, at the time you were working on trying to make sure everybody had a microwave, like they all had a fridge there at Adrian Inn, but not everybody even had a microwave. And I know you and I have talked about the issue of wheelchairs trying to get in because there's about that substantial of a lip trying to get into the room. Do we know where any of those are, where any of those situations stand when it comes to microwaves, or at least it comes to wheelchair accessibility?
Yeah, we don't have an inventory of the microwaves. I don't think everybody that needs a microwave has one. So we probably, or, a lot of microwaves were donated, last time around, and probably we could use more. Craig, Tanis and I talked, sometimes today about maybe having Habitat come in and build some, like, just little wedges for those rooms. But like you pointed out, there's not a lot of sidewalks, so you can't build much of a ramp, but create a little wedge there, to help people up over those, thresholds.
I know that you and I talked in that community room or space, and I was just there this afternoon. I was there Saturday, and right now the weather is okay, so everybody's outside, but I mean, these rooms are small, and like to be stuffed into a hotel room for possibly a year, I mean, they're hanging in the lobby a little bit, but it's beautiful outside right now, but what's gonna happen when the weather gets bad? And I know we need more, we're gonna possibly need more sheltering space there as well, but if there's anything we can do to give them some kind of an area to eat or some kind of a community area, just because of the way it's set up, and just with the weather coming for winter, and just because it's gonna really isolate them in those rooms, just because of the way it is.
Yep, that's, gonna need a new roof for that. See how much. It's gonna be.
So we're spending $800,000 on this and we have to pay for a roof. Oh, I can't remember what else. So that's a lot of City of Adrian tax dollars. Are there grants? Are there other funding options that we can request or offset that $1 million that
Well,
we're doing because it's the right thing to do? Is it part of what we're supposed to do? I don't know if supposed is the right word, but there's there's talk out there that this should be the building owner's job and responsibility. And as we just heard, that's probably not going to happen. So we're doing things for these people because it's the right thing to do. But is there other options for helping, for funding that, getting that money back from state and federal options?
well, so a couple things, I'll just transition into number 2 here, since we're really talking about hotel anyway. It's still my hope that, and I have some reason to believe this, that we could sell the hotel, conditioned upon providing a year of occupancy to these residents. And recoup our investment. And, it will require some conversations to see if something like the new roof, would have benefit to the new owner. I would think that it would. So that we could recoup that cost as well if we end up going that route. Likewise with the hot water heaters. We put in it's $20,000 to put in a tankless hot water heater there, which is what it should have. It has 250 gallons right now, one of which leaking. They'll work for the very short term. Should be replaced. I would think those things would be of equal interest to a new owner. So move those costs. I have it set up to go through the hotel with the prospective hotel operator a week from today. They'll assess, indicated strong interest, but has been through the property in the past, but hasn't been there in a while. So we'll see it again before we move further forward with that. I don't think, and that's what I want to talk about in this context is, we have to make a decision. Are we in this for a long term, or are we in this for the short term as it relates to the ownership of the stuff? So there are different routes to go depending on which those opinions we have or positions that we have. We talked today one of our EOC meetings about the idea of just going in and asking for it from our legislature. It's not without precedent that in disaster situations, legislature can appropriate money, and they have a lot more money to appropriate still this year. $4 billion still to appropriate, so. You know, there's that possibility. In terms of specific programs, I don't know that we've gotten far enough along to know specific grant programs that we could avail ourselves of, but any grant program isn't gonna give you money in the short term.
And it's like any, I mean, it's like any real estate deal. It's like, you know, you buy some for 800 and it trades for 975, you got 175 in the good right now. So, I mean, we could always flip a property. I mean, but I guess, Mike, you know, if you bought it for 800 and appraised for 600, that's a whole different discussion, you know, so. My concern is that I'm a hope for the best, but expect the worst kind of guy. And my concern is that building's not gonna be able to be repaired. And even if we say, all right, we're gonna be in the short term, what happens after a year? You know, what are we gonna, you know, and again, it's like, I can see both sides of it, but I think from a taxpayer standpoint, it's real estate. You know, if we put a new roof on it, like Greg said, the owners are gonna be, you know, whoever buys it's gonna be, you know, it's gonna be a value to them, you know, whether it be the water heater, roof, or anything, so. I'm not confident by being in some of those meetings and just understanding how real estate works, especially at that level, it's. I mean, there's buildings, you know, you go to any major city, you see big blighted buildings that people just separately incorporated and walk away, all right? I'm not gonna fix it, you know, so. That's my concern, is that if we're in it for the short term, but again, I don't wanna be in the hotel business either. You know, that's not our role, that's not, I think it's not prudent long term, but. So I'm confident we can get off of it whenever we choose to, but till we get to that point, it's like, what if it can't be fixed? Then what do we do? Go back to square one then. Because even if you charge, I did simple math, you know, you cut it in half and charge the residents $300 a month, or even at 70 units, that's $21,000, you know, a month in cash flow, $250,000 per year in cash flow. I mean, you have operating costs beside that too, but I mean, I don't know how much it would cost to operate. Like I said, I don't know the bills, but I'm not concerned about being responsible with taxpayer dollars on real estate, right? Because I know that we could always get off it, but I'm concerned that that building not be able to fix, and we're having this discussion next year once we do sell it.
Yeah, this has to be a short-term deal. We have to know that we can flip this within a year. But I guess one of my concerns is, we've already come this far. We have made, you know, whatever it was, 3 weeks ago, we made a commitment to these people. And I think that even if it may cost us some money, I think that each one of those rooms that we're putting people in have to be somewhat adequate with a microwave, and just like the mayor's saying, come winter months, they're stuck in there. We have to at least provide them with basics. We can't just say, well, you know, it could be worse, you could be out in the parking lot. Now, we took the steps to do this, and we have to do it right. That being said, a year from now, I don't want to own that building.
And can we use, like, I know DTE Foundation reached out to me today, Citizens Gas employees pitched in money, there was a match, and there's like $9,000 that's going into board the residents. Is that something where we can get the microwaves that way? It's just theirs, it's that resident's microwave, doing the donation through that, the money that's going into the foundation from them?
It could be, we have not set up the criteria for the use of those.
That's why I was asking, because I didn't know if we'd set up that, okay.
So in my estimation, that'd be inappropriate. That's something.
So we take this back to the humanity part of it. I have a shelter full of about 50 people. I have about 12 bunks left. We're gonna fill that, and you know, in the housing community, we guesstimate there's still gonna be 50 people without housing. Just due to that, that doesn't include all the other people that are probably living in tents right now. They're gonna try to come into shelter come fall, winter. So, I think we have a humanitarian crisis on our hands. And it's unfortunate that this is looked at more as a city issue than a county issue because all the county resources get brought right here to Adrian. So anytime there's any housing help. Housing help is in Adrian and shelter is in Adrian. But I'm hopeful that the state will step in and help cover some of these costs that we're putting out because this is, and even the county maybe, because this is not just a city of Adrian issue. This is a Lenawee County issue. So I'm hopeful that there's some other entities that are going to take a stand and help us and see. I know Housing Help, they have 2 case managers to case manage all of these people. And when we get all those numbers in, our housing information system, Lenawee County is going to have an astronomical amount of homeless people per capita compared to other or other communities our size. And I'm hopeful that the state will see that and step in and help. But that's like the humanitarian part of this is not that these people don't necessarily have the money. This is a very vulnerable population of people, and it's not even that they just don't have the finances to pay some of that. It's, we just have no housing. Washtenaw, Monroe, Jackson, they don't have any housing. So there's no place to put anyone right now.
I think with the guarded optimism that people are talking about, I think we need to think about moving forward with getting that roof. That is a large space. That could be used for a lot of different things depending on how we see it week to week, month to month. I don't like us continuing to say, well, what are we gonna do in the next year? Let's continue to stay on the project and get that kind of improvement in that space. I think is a positive thing for that piece of real estate. I think we need to get that large space roofed and going. That could be a lot of different spaces, a lot of different people, including as months get colder, they have an alternative space to go. So.
Before we go out and buy a bunch of microwaves, is there an opportunity to relocate some that are existing in the Riverview Terrace apartments? Gotta be microwaves in that building. Can we get a hold of those and move them out to the Adrian end?
I guess that depends who they belong to.
Exactly.
If they're property management. I honestly don't know one of those weren't furnished apartments. I think. Although sometimes sometimes the microwave comes with the apartment.
I'm just throwing it out there. As a thought.
It's not, the residents are free to go in and get any of their stuff that they have. Bring it with.
And what's our plan for management? Have you looked at options once we close, or have we even?
In the very short term, I'm trying to make a deal with Bill. He's got 2 weeks of occupancy anyway, in his apartment, he lives there. Keep it operating. But beyond that, it kind of depends on the conversation I have with the hotel operator next week. His proposal to us was that you would buy it, and you would run it, for a year with the residents in there. To rehab property. So he continues to have that interest after we go through the property next week, and we can turn it over and subject to an agreement that clause the deed back. If he doesn't do what he commits to doing, he commits to management. Obviously, he has to have, like we have to have income. Say, even if it was just $300 a month, that's well above the utility costs.
And where do we stand with the Adrian with, as you know, I've been talking today quite a bit with someone that was actually running a room at Adrian. They weren't under LEAC yet. They're trying to be, but they aren't under LEAC and they're not under the Riverview Terrace. And you said there's, it's more than just that one room. Where are we looking at as we take ownership with that population?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, they're gonna have to be assessed through the agencies as to whether or not they should be relocated or whether it's just put find somebody else in the same boat that we're trying to avoid. Keep, the people from.
Are we meeting with, are you meeting with the hotel operator next week before we have the closing date?
No, it's active. That's why I chose that solution. It's active.
So we could possibly close on this and then
And
he
flip it.
could.
And then flip it.
uh,
Or
but if
walk
he-
away.
But if he loses interest,
There's that too.
Yeah, I mean, if he's not interested, then we're looking at a piece of real estate that either, we're gonna try to sell in a year or. We may decide to. We no longer need this building, that it's not worth putting in. I mean, a piece of raw commercial land. I've looked at this as win-win either way, because. You may recall, and John knows, we're in litigation with this property owner right now, having declared this property a public nuisance. So we are going to resolve the public nuisance through this process. What the end product is remains to be seen. We are at least solving that problem.
Which is, I mean, this is a crisis. This isn't something anybody could foresee coming. This is a crisis, and it typically in a crisis, certainly at this point, you don't have a lot of answers. We aren't gonna have those answers yet. And I think their focus has to be on the people. There's a lot of people that are in falls. Winter's coming, right? I think we have to focus on the people, and that's an incredibly important piece to focus on.
I agree that we have to focus on the people. In the event that the hotel owner did change his mind, is it something that we could partner with one of the other housing agencies moving forward to help us manage, share costs?
I know that Housing Help has a new director. She's brilliant. She has a lot of background in this. I think I mean, she's certainly gonna need some assistance, staffing, things like that, but I don't think that is out of her reach to help manage. But that's,
Even, I mean, property management is different than just providing resources, though. You gotta hire staff, you gotta have a maintenance guy, like. Is Greg gonna get a phone call at 10 o'clock saying they don't have any hot water in unit 16? I mean, so, I mean. That's usually, I mean, you would see, you seek bids out for a property management company, you pay 8-10% of the rents. That's usually how that works. I mean, they manage it totally for you. And, it's out of sight, out of mind. That's what all the wealthy real estate guys do. They just hire a company to do it. And then they don't have to, they sit back in their beach house and do whatever. So, maybe they do housing help. I think they do more provide resources, right? Like,
no, so this would be looked at as transitional housing. So we're moving people from homelessness, transitioning them into housing. So it could possibly open up grant funding too. So there's some but again, it's gonna, those grant cycles don't open the government, so the grant cycles only open up at certain times. So we wouldn't even be able to begin funding that until those grant cycles opened up.
right.
So we would have to depend on some emergency funding, hopefully from county, state, et cetera, to help fund that stuff until we can make that happen.
Well, the positive thing is we don't have, I mean, it's not a positive thing because we're taking off the tax rules, at a minimum for the short term, but a lot of times when real estate, you got to pay taxes and your mortgage. So we don't have those two components of it. So we charge people something fair they can afford. And then a management company, whether it be Housing Help or whoever, they can manage the property and staff it, with the percentage of the rent collected. And then we can have money on, aside to help with the capital expenditure component of it too. So.
What type of liability is the city taking on? Like if someone trips and falls over one of those door entrances?
We would need to have in place a policy of liability insurance.
Excuse me, I can't hear my lawyer.
Huh?
I can't hear the lawyer when you're talking over here. Thank you. Can you restate that?
We would need to have in place a policy of liability insurance covering the premises.
Okay.
If there was a third-party management company, we would want an indemnification agreement and a policy of liability insurance from them as well. This is different. While there's a public building exception to governmental immunity, which means that defects in public buildings can be actionable against the municipality. So trip and falls, things of that nature, we would see those types of lawsuits during our ownership.
A little scary.
Our insurance policy would be amended, and once we acquire it, we send that into the MML to show additional property on our schedule, so to speak. And that would be pretty easy for them to pick up. But I anticipate, as with any multiple family residential living unit owned by a city, that there may be some occasional litigation.
It's a lot. It's a lot for the city residents. It is, and I'm not opposed to doing it, because I don't see another alternative. I just want people to know that we've talked about these issues. That right now, this is the best option that we can come up with. We don't have other options for these residents, and yep, there's gonna be liability. Yep, there could be costs that we can't recoup. Yep, there's gonna be some people who are not going to have housing. But we're doing what we can to address all of those concerns as much as a city government can do.
Let's remember, we've done pretty well. This is not something we do all the time. A lot of really good things you've done in a very quick schedule. And a lot of people involved, a lot of community people. I think it's it's been a lot worse. First few days.
So what is, to give me some guidance in my discussions next week, what is our posture as it relates to building? We take ownership of it, is it for sale? Assuming that we can use it for the year that we want to use it for, and meet the residents' needs.
I would say yes.
Yeah, I would say yes.
Will you continue to look at bids for improvements? Same time?
I'm caught on it just because. What's gonna happen if that building doesn't get fixed, and where are these residents still gonna go? That's where I'm a little bit like, that's my concern. It's not that I don't wanna see that happen, and I would like to not be in the business of owning property as a city, but I'm also like, ooh, a year, what if they just abandon and walk away from that building? Because it sounds like it's a very real possibility. And we're still in this unless we can get some developer to magically finally put something in within a year in this area that somebody's willing to put that money in and to build something.
Well, I mean, think about what it represents as a place to live. Living a year in a motel is not a great
No,
option.
No.
So our hope would be that the year buys the agency's time to find a permanent placement. And not be Adrian, you can't, as things stand, unless Riverview Terrace is repaired. It can't be, there aren't gonna be that many units in Adrian. Possibly even Monterey County. In that short of period. Folks are gonna have to be open to the possibility. Okay. From decent housing that's affordable. So.
This, I mean, I think one of the things that the community talked about at our press conferences, we're moving people out of their home. And not just their home, their community. It's be tragic.
You know, like the mayor just said, it's like, I'm just, we have a unit problem. Take Riverview Terrace out of the equation. We have a unit problem right now. Not counting those 175 or whatever the number is. And that's what I'm concerned about after years, like, you know, 'cause I always prepare for the worst case scenario, but hope for the best. I just. But my other side of me says I'm usually pretty decisive, stuff like this, I just,
And you say, oh, for the best, you're saying.
that it gets
Year.
repaired.
But it gets
It would be-
repaired.
Yeah, I'd say 6 months, even 8 months, to a year, but I just don't. From a like Greg said, from a financial standpoint, that's why people walk away from buildings and old, you know, factories for that reason. It's because I'm gonna put money into it, you know, it's like bankrupt the corporation and walk away, you know, so that's my concern is that once a year is up, then we're having the same conversation right now.
Wouldn't you believe that once that 125 people hear what's going on with the building, that it will give them a better sense of what they need to do. Some of them are alone, but some of them do have family members that are still in the wings helping, and now they see that building may not be repaired. Now we do need to look for another place.
Well, I think that got us down to 80 from 175.
Right.
You know, so now we got, and the, you know, so
We're higher than.
I think the information,
is it above 80 now? See, that's
I think
why.
that part of that is. to
Well, you're right.
Continue to rise.
I think-
I
But the exact opposite was happening for this period of time, right? People are coming that were staying with family, saying, well, you know, you're paying for a motel room, well, I'd like a motel room too. Family. built a motel room, but, you know, we'd like you to have one too. If the option is instead a cot, you know, in the conference room, or the conference room building, that may not happen. Right. It has, or that, you know, when it comes time to pay for the room, you know, that may change the calculus. And for, you know, $300 a month, but whatever. Right now, the balance has been skewed, I think, a little bit by the fact that, these accounts are pretty decent and free. Needs to get back into balance. I don't know really what family resources there are.
and they're still hoping for good news.
Well, that's why we said multiple times in a press release, and I said in my conversation with April. Don't count on that. I must be looking for housing. We may never move back into Riverview Terrace, but you should act as though that's the case, because any of that is going to be more, probably more.
It's just stuff, you know, I'll list a unit and I'll have 50 applications like that. And they're all, it's competitive. I mean, it really, I mean, and then it's sad, you know, it's more of an affordable housing component more than a housing component of it, you know, and you need direction tonight, don't you? Is that what you?
Well, ideally, you know, I mean. And I mean, take him through and he, you know, will be out and won't have any further interest, because there are some real issues with that building. And those are the same issues for us. You know, what Tony and I went through it. Friday before last. His thumbnail analysis wasn't serviceable in the short term, but over the long term, this building. Not just the roof on the top, but hot water, that's the least of it. There's lots of problems in that.
The hotel owner may look at it completely different than we do, though. He may look at it from the standpoint of, I don't care how many things are wrong, we're just gonna gut it anyway.
Yeah, and his intent, the fellow I talked to, his intention would be to gut it, but for example, the balconies that provide access to the second floor rooms are all listing. Evening. You know, I don't know if he plans on, he would like to have those walkways being closed. But I don't know if it's condition of that is something he's taking account of. Scheduling. Probably
And I don't know if this is something that we can, I know that's business US 223 there on that side of Maumee, but I know we did it down by the trail, but is there any way to like get it striped like a crosswalk? I almost saw somebody get hit when I was leaving Adrian today by a car that was in a wheelchair trying to get across from Dollar General because it's literally right across the street or whatever it is. So they were coming across because that's like their only place they can go, and they used to cross to go to Family Dollar, and there was a crosswalk there. So it wasn't, because people will stop or slow down because they see that crosswalk. I don't know if there's anything that can be done in that spot. I'm highly concerned after what I saw today.
Yeah, well, it's conversational up there, but I'm not. As well.
I think if the hotel owner is interested in buying it after he walks through that, we should sell. And that's a really tough thing for me to say and decide based on that need our help, but we have to be able to work in this next year to get them to where they. I don't want anyone living in a hotel. We've got to be able to find some other better options.
I agree. I think my good friend saying we're not in the hotel business is very true. And it's. So I agree with everything that.
And I agree with what Doug was saying before. I think hopefully in the not too distant future, we'll have some answers with regard to what the future of the high rise is. If in fact, it's not going to ever be inhabitable again, that's going to be a reality check for the people who have been displaced.
Right.
To really think about, okay, I've got to find another option now because I'm not ever going back to the high rise. So that, and coupled with the possibility that a year from now, we won't own the building or we will have sold it in the meantime. And so it might not be available for transitional housing. So again, those things all come into play in the decision-making process of the people who've been displaced.
But devil's advocate, what if,
But there's nowhere to go.
what if they don't fix Riverview Terrace? What they say,
I
I think,
disagree with those answers because until we know what the outcome of Riverview Terrace is, we're looking at two, possibly like total in Lenawee County, so possibly like more than 200 homeless individuals. And there is no way we can house them. There's no way that that counties around us can house them. So those people are going to be displaced counties away from their home. So I disagree with the answer of selling it unless we know what the outcome of what is going to happen with Riverview Terrace. So if there's an answer by the end of this week that this cannot be fixed, this can be fixed, I think that would sway me one way or another, but I can't displace 200 people out of their community. That doesn't sit well with me.
Don't we have a clause that possibly keep those people there for a year? Is that for your?
Well, now, under any scenario,
But
yes.
that's, we're talking about still outside of that, and I know that that's only our responsibility, but when we talk about the housing industry in our community, it's going to take us a lot longer than that to help out.
I know this possible buyer was looking at building apartments also at one point, at least that when it came through. I remember when it came through the planning commission, CBA, because it had to get changed for the zoning. Is this still a possibility as well? Because we really could use some more apartments.
Right, I haven't had that discussion. with them.
I'm with Kelly on this. I think that until I know exactly, I don't want to gamble with human lives and wondering where they're gonna be in a year. I mean, the real estate component of it does not scare me. I mean, it'll cash flow enough, I'm guessing, just by simple math, that we can be able to pay the operating costs, hire a third management, property management company to run it. And make the repairs we need to. Like I said, we're 175,000 in the good right now in equity. But I can't just commit to selling it, myself personally, unless I have assurance that building can be repaired and those residents have somewhere to go. And whether it be 6 months, a year, it goes against everything my principle, but I just can't.
So are you saying fix the roof now too?
I would say fix it up, fix it up. Yep, again, it's like, it's like then, it's just like your home. It's like if your house is worth 300 and you owe 150 on it. You have $150,000 equity. So I mean, let's fix it and make it safe, make it manageable. And then if 6 months down a year, if my worst case scenario is actually a positive thing, then we could sell it because the public nuisance component's not there. We could, it have a new roof, new water heater. It will have some things and we can be able to move off that and recoup everything we put into it.
I feel the same way. I feel we need to know where Riverview Terrace is. We just don't know, and that unknown is,
Tough.
it's so many
Tough.
being displaced. I mean, honestly, I saw the rooms, like they're regular motel rooms. I mean, who wants to live in a motel room? Nobody. It's tiny. Like, that's not ideal either, but it's better than being out in the cold in a tent or out in the cold with not even a tent and being homeless, or sometimes it might, whatever the circumstance might be, it's still better than that, but this isn't even ideal. This isn't like something that we
This
think this
doesn't
is a
even
great
cover all.
solution. It's just the
Doesn't
only
even cover all.
option right now. Yeah.
So
Well, if we don't sell it now, there'll be other opportunities to sell it down the road too.
It's a 70 whatever unit hotel. I mean, we'll be able to sell it. Like I said, the stigma will be gone. Of that property, I just can't commit to conditionally selling it unless we know the status of the building.
Okay. Well,
But I mean, that's the majority rules here. So
Yeah.
well, no, I mean, it's gotta wait and see. What I'm hearing is the answer. When we know what is gonna happen with Riverview Terrace, then we'll know.
but we do have to realize who's gonna manage it and then
We're
find
gonna
out.
make that arrangement.
Right, right.
Mhm.
I just want to make sure that if we move forward on this, that we make each room livable, so that we're not, put somebody in a room with a bed. That's it. You have to be able to have even if it's a small refrigerator and a microwave, you need to be able to stay in there and live November through March at least. So if we're gonna do it, we have to do it right.
Didn't you say the property alone's worth $500,000, right? Without the building? I remember you said something around.
Well, the broker told me that if without the building, it's worth over. The current as-is appraisal is, like you said, 975, but without the building, just the real estate alone.
Right. So we'll be able to get off underneath it when we are ready to, if ever, who knows? I mean, who knows? I mean, but it's gambling. I think I don't. Gamble.
And this isn't a population, just again, to say, this isn't like Alan and I have talked, or Commissioner Halt, sorry, and I said, if your house burnt down tomorrow, you probably have resources you can find. But this is they're really dependent on this housing, like we need to take care, and there's a lot of them, and it's not a small population, and this is us taking care of our residents. And I do feel it's been our responsibility in this case, especially just because it is our elderly, or it is those that are needing assistance. It is not somebody that necessarily does have family or has capable friends or anybody to help them out.
Okay, well, I mean, I think I know the current direction is to do one more thing to talk about here. Pre-meeting, very briefly, which is just an update from Jay on Back to the Bricks and telling you about the resolution that's on your regular meeting agenda tonight. And if I understand it, we need the timing of that. The reason we have it on the agenda tonight is the application period is before your next meeting. You know, I explain all that.
Yeah, so Back to the Bricks, for those of you not aware, it is a traveling car show. Next year it'll be June 9th through the 13th. We don't know where it goes. This is the process where we submit our request and then they decide what city they want to hit. Typically, it's 5 cities over those 5 days. They'll have an overnight stay in your city. Think of it kind of as First Fridays, but bigger. We would look at, Michelle's got the map up. You can see the normal First Friday street flows also going into Toledo Street and then along Winter Street as well. They bring about 300 cars, ask us to have our local car shows involved. They bring merchandise booths, probably about 600 people they bring in. They eat and shop and do all those things in those cities. The reason that we're here today asking for the approval because the memorandum of understanding has to be back to them by August 29th. And so this would be presented with Main Street EDA in conjunction with Visit Lenawee and the city of Adrian. We've got clear defined roles of what everybody's doing, who's responsible for what budgets, and there will be no mingling of those budgets. Everybody's got clear defined roles for that purpose.
Can you explain why we did do this before and that why we're back? You're back asking again?
Yep, so it was done in 2017. It was successful. They liked it. I think it rained during that one. But they had reached out to Visit Lenawee, had been in contact with them for last year and asked that we submit again to be part of it. I think the understanding is we're high on the list to be chosen in the city. They really like our downtown and the way it's set up.
I feel like we submitted last year, didn't we?
We did, but they
Ended up
chose
going a route. that-
Yeah, they went up going to northern route. They went up into the UP and various areas.
One of the things on the MOU stated that we have to secure housing for that night that they are here. We have to reserve the hotel rooms for up to 600 people. Do we? Like 300, it's, I don't know.
300 hotel rooms.
300 hotel rooms.
Yes, so
Okay, one, do we have 300 hotel rooms in Adrian or is that Lenawee County? Is that even into Dundee?
So that's Visit Lenawee. That's their wheelhouse.
That's their job?
That's their job. Yep.
Okay,
And so Justin has said that they have enough space available and that the hotels have agreed to that. So he has 300 hotel rooms somewhere. I don't know. That's his expertise and that's where they get their revenue for their programs. So he has knowledge of those hotel rooms. I just don't know where they are. I haven't gone into it, but that's his lane and I'll let him stay in it because he's the expert.
when I read that, I went, ooh, baby.
It was, we must have enough somewhere because they agreed to it last year and they had enough to do it then.
Or we just bought something.
That's-
Well, there's that. Too.
Yeah, no, there wouldn't be a race, but probably too late for. Is it during the week or we don't?
So
know? We
it's
don't
the
know.
9th through the 13th, so I think that's a Friday that it starts and goes to like a Wednesday.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing wouldn't be in colleges could possibly be a graduation happening commencement that weekend, but I doubt it. That's pretty.
Yeah.
So shouldn't affect anything I can think of.
Other questions for Jay? Not Mayor, I'll turn it back to you for public comment.
All right, at this time, we will open it up for public comment. We will start inside the chambers first. Just to reiterate, there's a 3-minute time limit. If you go past that 3-minute time limit, you will hear the alarm go off. But for the record, please state your name and address.
Terry Collins. I don't have a solution for it, for the short-term problem of housing. You're facing. This is a huge indication of an overall larger problem that exists in the city of Adrian. Housing is vastly dealing with the city of Adrian. Now, that's what it's now for sure.
No, I'm not muted because
The second one. Second one's even further. Understand there's a significant amount of money. In that fund. And I think one of them, that's one I'm doing. That we make it known to the commission that that's something you seriously want to look into. That's the entire fund, seriously look into it. I asked you for a human amount. And I'll tell you now, it's gonna be a little bit up for that. Flavor of the county, please, now, not. I thought it's the same three, it's the same section. Yeah. But we are. It's an opportunity. For long. For things that have got to be. I implore you, not just you, whoever you are. Come that meeting, let you know. That's something we really, really want to look into. Thank you.
My name is Roger Smith. I live at 160 Norman Street, apartment 6 in Masonic Building. This is my son. I work with home health care. His mom has a dual disability. She's currently in the hospital now. I have paperwork here where we have started the Eastern Rebotany Women, Children, and Men Refuge. And it's my dream to help women, men, and children that are in this position, like at the hotel. That's crazy. I don't know what floor. I feel like you guys, it probably ain't gonna be able to fix. But I also feel like if you get the money to fix it, it'll be worth it. I've been doing a lot of research. I have 2 businesses I'm working on. Another is Worldwide Hip Hop Hall of Fame Museum. I deal with hip hop, as you know, Ohio try to steal that or whatever with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but they do hip hop now. Okay, another thing, New York never had one when I first started. I have my licenses and stuff here, right here, and I also have it in Adrian and Memphis, Tennessee. It cost $2 billion for the building. I already estimated that my business without it being built is worth $2.5 billion. I searched for grants online at grants.com, and they have a grant for unlimited money for people that want to buy a city. A city that is up under 20-something thousand. This city is up under 20,000. My dream was to build by Woodstock, Tennessee, which is close to Millington, Tennessee, and Memphis, Tennessee, where I lived for 35 years, 56. I was born in Highland Park, Michigan. Now I live in Adrian and take care of my wife and my son here. I see it as a bad problem too, but if I go around Adrian, I also see there's a lot of empty houses. Some people probably can't afford to buy those houses. But in a situation like this, I feel like we can make our own programs like Habitat and Hut, but they need to be rebuilt and redone all over there. You know what I'm saying? So the city needs to take over that Habitat and Hut. Then you can get people like us and kids who can get out and work for, get volunteer stuff. And then those houses can be for people like us or people like them. We've had people that burned up in the building. And I believe that's because the city has not enough training. It doesn't send there. I've been in not playing the city, excuse me, but I was in the Coast Guard. And you know how they train you in the military. Maritime law enforcement for first degree primary rescue. So I could have rescued that man when I told him it's a fire up there and smoke up there. They didn't even go upstairs to look for the smoke. They came back 2-3 hours later. That man burnt up in there. Then the owner spent probably about $70-something thousand just to remodel one room.
Sorry, your time's up.
You can get the grants at grants.com. Unlimited, rebuild your own city. Like for the whole city.
Hello, Joaquin Ramos, we've heard from you numerous times for 23 South Winter Street. Of course, I think it's a great idea that you guys are in control of the union, to how that, of course, make rooms livable, of course, fix the roof and do other things. As Commissioner Howell mentioned, you can get rid of this at a later point, a couple of years down the line, from so desire. And as Council Bravo, we need to focus on the people first. This is, if you push it down and if you want to sell the building and then a year the contract's over, you're gonna have another crisis. So trying to do it correctly this time around is actually going to go a lot better, and we very much need transitional housing in the community. I stand on the housing health board. I can tell you they do not have enough transitional housing for even our normal amount of people, and let alone for a disaster like. But part of how an organization like that works, the more stuff that they're doing, the more they can see for funding. So if we partner with them on this agreement, they can see more funding and actually do more as well to help. So that might be one of your best options for partnership. I definitely agree with that. And again, you gotta think about the people first, of course, even if Adrian is re-rented fully and somehow we're able to put another 20 rooms in there, that's still not gonna be enough for what we have here in Adrian, but it's gonna be for something and still it's something to be done. Because as mentioned by this people out, and even if Riverview Terrace is suddenly able to be fixed, again, we still know there's a lot of people that need help in this community. So even if all of them don't need it, there's still plenty of people here in Adrian that really need that transitional housing. I have some more stuff for you, but I'll give you that in the right meeting. Thank you.
We will open it up to Zoom now if there's any, oh, sorry.
My name is Stephen Rojas. I'm one of the residents at Eric River, Riverview Terrace Apartments. I think the question for a lot of us, we want to know what's really going to happen to us. And I know, people are doing the best you can. A lot of questions to waited right here. I agree with it. It's maybe the right thing to do. What else there is to do? We can say this, we can say that. Okay, well, at the present time, well, we have to do what we have to do. This lady right here, that's I have a microwave in my room. I also have a refrigerator, and I got my coffee pot in it. I'm also a veteran, so I gotta suck it up. That's the way you were taught in the service. I feel sorry for some of my friends that are there. They're a lot of them are in wheelchairs, hard for them to get around them. You're right, you're absolutely right. It's not adaptable for them. They can't get in, they can't get out. It's just a situation that we're all in. Nobody wanted this. The thing that I think that the thing really bothers me is, okay, let's say they fix the building. I'm asking a lot of my friends, are you gonna go back? Well, I'm gonna say yes. Okay, if they fix the building, I probably will not go back. The only reason why I say it is for what happened before. God bless. If my friends went back and it collapsed and my friends got killed, I'm not going back. If they fix it, okay, maybe I'll just go and get my stuff after that. But we're in a situation where it's too bad, and I got healed by my friends, and I hope we're kind of mad because Medallion is not telling us anything. We're really, really upset with that. You people are telling us things, but they're not telling us nothing. Okay, it's like they don't want any part of it. Well, it's your problem. Well, okay, it's our problem, but you know what? You're the one that built the building. Okay, we would just like to say, give us some answers. And a lot of us are very angry about that. Thank you for your time.
We will open it up now on Zoom. If anybody has any public comment, you will hear the alarm go off at your 3-minute time limit. And for the record, please state your name and address. Hearing no public comment, may I get a motion to adjourn? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All right, let's see what time it is. Our meeting out there will begin at 7:10.
progress.
I call to order the Adrian City Commission meeting for August 15th, 2022. If everyone would please rise for a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance.
And to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Heath,
Present.
Commissioner Halt,
Present.
Commissioner Roberts. Present. Commissioner Miller,
Present.
Commissioner Strayer,
Present.
Commissioner Castleberry,
Present.
Commissioner Gauss,
Present.
all commission members present.
May I get a motion to adopt the consent agenda?
Move to adopt this consent agenda.
Support.
I have a motion from Commissioner Roberts with a second from Commissioner Miller. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Halt,
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Strayer,
Yes.
Commissioner Castleberry.
Yes.
Commissioner Gauss,
Yes.
Mayor Heath,
Yes.
consent agenda approved by unanimous vote.
Moving on to our regular agenda under ordinances, ordinance number 22-004 is a second reading and consideration of an ordinance to amend section 3.1 of Article 3 of the City of Adrian zoning development regulations, and the zoning map to which reference is therein made is amended to the extent of deleting 1357 South Main Street from a B4 shopping center district and including the same in the PUD planned unit development. May I get a motion to adopt the ordinance?
Move we adopt the ordinance.
Support.
Are there any public comments? Are there any commissioner comments? I have a motion from Commissioner Halt with a second from Commissioner Strayer. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Roberts,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Strayer,
Yes.
Commissioner Castleberry.
Yes.
Commissioner Gauss,
Yes.
Mayor Heath,
Yes.
Commissioner Halt,
Yes.
ordinance adopted by unanimous vote.
Under resolutions, Resolution R 22-062 is from Parks and Recreation. It is a resolution to award a bid for the purchase of a utility cart for Oakwood Cemetery. May I get a motion to adopt the resolution?
So moved.
Support.
Are there any public comments pertaining to the resolution to award the bid for a purchase of a utility cart for Oakwood Cemetery? Are there any commissioner comments? I have a motion from Commissioner Gauss with a second from Commissioner Castleberry and Commissioner Miller. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Strayer,
Yes.
Commissioner Castleberry,
Yes.
Commissioner Gauss,
Yes.
Mayor Heath,
Yes.
Commissioner Halt,
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts.
Yes.
Resolution adopted by unanimous vote.
Resolution R 22-063 is from administration. It is a resolution of support for Adrian to be a host city for the 2023 Back to the Bricks promo tour. May I get a motion to adopt the resolution?
Move to adopt the resolution.
Support.
Are there any public comments? Are there any commissioner comments? I have a motion from Commissioner Roberts with a second from Commissioner Strayer. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Strayer,
Yes.
Commissioner Castleberry,
Yes.
Commissioner Gauss,
Yes.
Mayor Heath,
Yes.
Commissioner Halt,
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller.
Yes.
Resolution adopted by unanimous vote.
Commissioners, there are miscellaneous reports in your packet. Are there any questions or comments about those reports? We will move on to public comment. At this time, We will begin inside the chambers first. Just to reiterate, there is a 3-minute time limit, which you will see on the screen. And for the record, please state your name and address if you would like to give public comment and come up to the podium, please.
Hello, Joaquin Ramos. You haven't heard from me yet, I know. 422 South Winter Street. I again want to congratulate the city for all the work they're putting into this Riverview Terrace Apartments issue, and I know that it's technically a state issue. I want to congratulate the city for all the work you've put into this, and that I'm very glad that you guys are continuing to put in work, and I hope that you will indeed keep the transitional housing going on for more than a year, preferably for an extended period of time, and I definitely encourage you to part of some organizations. Other than that, it was great seeing a few of you at the last A3 meetings, and I look forward to seeing you there again. And thank you for your time. I will bug a couple of you after the meeting. Thank you.
Good evening. I have been before this board previously as a candidate in the primary, and now I have passed the primary, and now I'm going on to the election. So I did want to say, one, thank you for whoever voted for me and your support, but also thank you for giving me the opportunity just to present myself. Currently, well, I have been the judge since April 11th and have been getting a little more familiar with that position and moving forward. And I would just want to say, as a philosophy, I've decided I will not call this my job, because as a judge, I interact with individuals in a way that very few people do. And I'm calling it my position. And I'm calling it my position because taking a step out of the Navy, which I had served in, you don't salute the person, you salute the rank. And as a judge, if I'm called Your Honor or Judge, I recognize that it is the position that has that respect, and I have to earn that every single day. So that's the philosophy that I'm coming into this position. As I said, I've been here for a little while, and that's something that I've learned in it. Ashley Hanson Grimes is running against me. I have spoken to you before, but I do believe I bring an awful lot to the table. Ashley has been an attorney since 2012. I've been an attorney since 2010, and I could run through all the things I've done as an attorney, but we've both done a lot as attorneys. But it's the things that I've done before that make me a better judge. I was in the military. I was a single parent. I worked in a mental health hospital prison. I earned an MBA, and then I worked with Michigan Rehab Services. Michigan Rehab Services helps people with disabilities to get or keep jobs. Now, I was a financial analyst, but that's what the organization focused on. And then I earned 100% scholarship to law school, went back to school while working full-time, and earned my Juris Doctorate degree magna cum laude. And as I've said before, I do try to give back to the community. I've been on the Village of Clinton board, and I know I didn't say my address. I am a sitting judge. I live in Clinton. I would prefer not to give my exact address. And I hope you understand. I do have more little flyers. They're very
There
simple.
might be some people online who don't know who you are. Could you at least state your name?
My name is Todd Morgan. I was recently appointed judge. When Judge Poor retired, Ashley, myself, and a number of other people applied for the position. We were investigated, we were vetted, we were interviewed, and I was selected and sworn in April 11th. And I will be the judge until at least December 31st, and I'm hoping with support from people here beyond that. And I'm down to 10 seconds. So if anybody would like a flyer, I most certainly would give you one. And thank you again for letting me introduce myself and be here. Would any of you?
Hi, I'm Rogers Mitchell again, 160 East Maumee Street, Masonic Building, across the street, apartment 6. I like the fact that he had the guts to get up here and say that he was a judge and he worked with the mental illness people. I do have one question for him. What if you had a mental ill person come in and they really need to go to the hospital and you sent them to jail? Would you send them to jail or would you send them to the hospital?
He can respond to you
I'm
afterwards.
sorry, I was just asking that question because there's a problem with HIPAA and people that's dealing, that have family members that have, as my family member, my wife does, she has a disease, and sometimes it's hard to talk to her, especially from here to the hospital or the doctors, because of the HIPAA law says if she don't put me on the list, I can't talk to her. So sometimes it'd be 4 or 5 days before I can talk to her. Back on the other issue at hand, I noticed, I forgot, there was a lot of houses out here, some empty, some foreclosed, some buildings. We can rehab those right quick and get those people in there. Serious business. And you can get your money back. And if the bank owns them, that'll help too. That's all I want to add.
We will now open it up to the Zoom participants. You will see the time on your screen as well, and also please state your name and address. Thank you. Hearing no public comment, I will now ask, are there any commissioner comments? All right, hearing no commissioner comments, may I get a motion to adjourn? I have a motion from Commissioner. I have a motion from Commissioner Miller with a second from Commissioner Roberts. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned.